Okay, so I did my project on time versus exercise. My hypothesis is if that exercise is affected by time, then those who have a busy schedule rarely exercise. And in the top left corner, I put a quote that says, "It's not about having time, it's about making time." I know myself, I have a really busy schedule most of the days, but I always find time to exercise because it's number one on my to do list, other than going to school and going to work, obviously. So, as my introduction, I put that this project shows the correlation between time and exercise. Do people really not have time to exercise, or is that just an excuse? Or are people just not using exercise as a priority to them because things that are a priority to people tend to be things that they get done first in their daily schedule? And my goal is to prove my hypothesis wrong, to show that even those with limited time still find a way to exercise. And in order to do that, I conducted a survey which includes 60 participants. I also put in these in green letters those who want to exercise and better themselves will, and then the one in red letters are the ones who have time as an excuse for finding activities to replace a workout. So also the data to the survey won't only help me realize that my hypothesis won't only help me prove that my hypothesis is wrong, but it will also help others realize that they do have time for exercise. It's just not a priority to them, and they replace other activities in their daily schedule instead of going to the gym or just doing a home workout. So, a couple of my theories, they include those. The first one is those with little free time will have more stress within their daily schedule and will exercise less. Second one is those with more free time will have less stress within their daily schedule and will exercise more. And then the one I'm trying to prove right would be the third one, which states those who have little free time have some stress within their daily schedule, prioritize health and exercise, and will find a way to fit exercise in their schedule. So, a couple of my questions that I included in this survey was the first one is if you're a college student, are you part time or full time? If you have a job, how many hours a week do you work? What is your major? How often do you find yourself overwhelmed within your daily schedule? On a scale of 1 to 5, how important is staying healthy to you? How many days per week do you exercise? Is exercise even a priority to you? And then I had them rank the following activities in order from most to least important, which was work, school, exercise, social time, and downtime. And then the last question was, do you have a fixed or growth mindset? So fixed would pretty much just be they ignore challenges, and a growth would mean that they embrace them. So the first question, if you're a college student, are you part-time or full-time? So 80% of the participants are college students, and within that, 98% of the 48 are full-time students, and only one person is actually a part-time student, and that part-time student does have a job. Out of the full-time students, 37 have jobs, which would be 79%, and 10 do not have a job, which would be 21%. The rest of the participants, which are 20%, are non-students and they do have jobs. And some of the majors, the top 6 majors actually include business, education, communications, chemistry, marketing, and biology. So, how many days per week do you exercise? So, out of the 60 respondents, I found that the majority of the participants exercise 4 or more days a week with 40%. Then you have 1 to 2 days, which was 22%. 2 to 3 days a week is 16%, and 3 to 4 days a week is 22%. So, along with this, I actually found a couple of research questions. Well, some research behind the data. And since the majority of the survey is based upon college students, I thought it'd be a good point to put this in the PowerPoint. It says traditional and non-traditional students, as well as males and females, are reported the same top 3 barriers to exercise, which include lack of time, energy, and willpower. Which I will be focusing on a lack of time mainly for this project. So the remaining participants are working for a living, which is 20% of them, and a longitudinal analysis showed that increased routine work time was associated with decreased exercise time, which in the end, I'm actually going to prove that one wrong. So the next question, I said, please rank the activities on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the most important. And on average, the most important one was school, then it was work, then exercise, social time, and downtime. And there was actually a really close percentage between exercise and social time. If you look all the way to the right under score, you'll see that exercise has an average ranking of 2.78 and social time only has 2.70. So one of the questions that you can probably think about is what order tends to cause more stress, because I'll be going over that within the next couple of slides. Just because school and work are essential in life doesn't mean everyone puts it first. I know me, and I know a lot of other people who would rather lay in bed or go out with their friends. I know the majority of the people would probably want to do that. If social and downtime were ranked first, would stress levels rise from accomplishing what wants to be done rather than what needs to be done? And then would stress levels rise if exercise was ranked 4 or 5? And then would it lower if it was ranked a 1 or a 2? And I only say that because underneath of that says, in a study conducted in 2018, researchers found that stress was greater amongst those who didn't exercise. So stress was lower overall for adolescents reporting a greater amount of weekly exercise. And it was stronger for more perceived stress compared to cortisol. So I also did a correlation between stress levels and the students who have a job. So obviously there are 48 total college students, and out of that 48, only 38 have a job, which is 77%. So 8 of those 48 are stressed 1 to 2 times a week. 16, which is the most, are stressed 2 to 3 times a week. There's another 8 for 3 to 4 times, and then there's 6 stressed 4 or more times a week. So obviously the majority of the students were stressed 2 to 3 times per week, and out of that, I found that the majority of the students who were stressed work 10 to 20 hours per week. And under those people, I found that under the ranking of activities, they put down their most important as school, then followed by exercise, with work and social time both having the same amount of ranks, and then downtime is the last one. And then the second amount of hours that were under those stress under 2 to 3 times were 20 to 30 hours. And they ranked their activities as the following, which was school as number 1, work as number 2, exercise as number 3, social time as number 4, and downtime is number 5. So the next topic I'm going to go over is stress levels under people who are not students and just work. So 12 people out of 60 are not students and they work, and 50% of those people are stressed only 1 to 2 days a week. I found that the lowest, only 8% are stressed 2 to 3 days, 25% are stressed 3 to 4 days, and 17% are stressed 4 or more days. So as we know, the majority of the workers are only stressed 1 to 2 days a week. And under those people, the majority of them work 30 to 40 hours a week. And with that being said, they rank the following activities: work as most important, then school, then downtime, then exercise, and then social time, which is kind of weird that they put school as second, but just because they are not in school, but I'm sure if they were in school, that's what they would rank as number 2. And then the next group, the other remaining people work 20 to 30 hours a week, and they rank the following activities as followed, which downtime being most important, work being second, exercise is third, school is 4th, and then social time as the 5th. And then the next one are stress levels within students who do not have jobs. And that is a total of 10 people out of the 48 people who are considered students within this survey. So as you can see, only 10% are stressed 1 to 2 days a week, 30% are stressed 2 to 3. The majority, which is 40%, are stressed 3 to 4 days a week, which is actually greater than the amount of stress between students with jobs and just people who just have jobs. And then the remaining 20% are stressed more than 4 days a week. So I found it very, very weird that the majority are stressed 3 to 4 days a week, and that's more than anyone else. And one of the questions you could ask yourself is, what is making these students have more stress? Well, the students who are stressed 3 to 4 days a week rank the following activities in order from most to least important, which was school as number 1, social time is number 2, downtime is number 3, exercise is number 4, and work as number 5. And at the very bottom of the page, it says failing to manage your time effectively can have some very undesirable consequences: missed deadlines, inefficient workflow, poor work quality, a poor professional reputation, and a stalled career, higher stress levels, etc. So because they put social and downtime first, I'm going to assume right here that they have higher stress levels because they have more things that aren't necessarily need to be incorporated in your daily schedule before the things that are more important, like exercise and work. And then the students who are stressed 2 to 3 days a week rank the following activities in order from most to least important, which are school, social time, exercise, downtime, and work, which also social time is pretty high up there. And that's probably one of the major differences between students without jobs and then the students with jobs and the people who are only working. Their social time and downtime are both lower ranked compared to school, exercise, and work. So then I did a correlation between school versus work. So 20% of students exercise 1 to 2 days a week. 2% of non-students exercise 1 to 2 days a week. And this is only considered 13 out of 60 people in total. So out of the 22%, 85% of the students who exercise 1 to 2 days a week are college students. And the majority of those students work 10 to 20 hours a week. Only one person works 20 to 30 hours a week, and then 17% work more than 30 hours a week. And this includes the one part-time student that was in this survey. And then 25% have no job. And then for non-students, there was only one person who exercises 1 to 2 days a week, and they work more than 30 hours a week. So down below in the bottom left-hand corner, I put the majority of college students who work more than 30 hours a week exercise 1 to 2 days per week. So that would mean that they have a pretty busy schedule. If you work more than 30 hours a week, that's pretty much full-time working. So if you count the part-time student and a full-time student, that can be a lot of stress and a lot of time that you don't have free to be able to exercise. So the next one would be people who exercise 2 to 3 days a week, which is a total of 10 out of 60 participants, which 15% of them are students and 2% are non-students. So out of the 16%, well, it's supposed to be 17, but 90% are college students, which is 9 out of 10. And then the majority of those college students work, again, 10 to 20 hours a week. 22% only work 20 to 30, and then 11% have no job. And then there were no part-time students considered in this one. And then 10% are non-students, and they work 10 to 20 hours as well. So the next slide involves people who exercise more than 3 days a week. So 13 out of 60 people, which is 22%, exercise 3 to 4 days a week, which includes 13% of students and 8% of non-students. So out of the 22%, 62% are college students, and the majority of them work 10 to 20 hours a week. And then 16 works 20 to 30, and then 23 have no job. There are no part-time students in this one either. And then 38% are non-students. The majority of people who only have a job and are not students, they work more than 30 hours per week while still exercising 3 to 4 days a week. And that's important because if we look back at one of my theories, it says that people who have less free time are said to not work as much. Well, that right there proves that wrong. And then the next one, so 24 people, or 40%, exercise 4 or more days of the week, which includes 32% of students and 8% of non-students. So out of this 40%, 79% are college students, and the majority, 63%, work 10 to 20 hours a week, which if you notice, the students that work 10 to 20 hours a week, they kind of lead the group in exercising schedules. So the one under that, 16% work 20 to 30 hours a week. 5% work more than 30, 60% have no job. There were no part-time students in this one. And then there are 5 people, or 21%, non-students included in this category, with the majority working, again, more than 30 hours a week. So if you go look down at the little colored statements at the bottom, the first one says, remember, students who work between 10 and 20 hours reported having the most stress in their group, which they also make up the majority of students in each category for days of exercise, with the most respondents exercising 4 or more days a week. So with this group having the busiest schedule between work, school, and their daily exercise, how do they even fit this in? And then for the red point, it says the majority of students who work 20 to 30 hours also exercise 4 or more days a week. So that's a lot too. And then it also says, remember, non-students who work more than 30 hours reported having the most stress in their group. So they also exercise more days of the week than any other non-student. The next question, do you have a fixed or a growth mindset? So a fixed mindset is pretty much someone who does not embrace challenges. They kind of just let it go, don't think about it, don't go through with it. And then a growth mindset is someone who embraces it. Like someone who, say, in this relation, if they didn't have a lot of free time, they would still make it their day's mission to attempt to get in some exercise. So in total, 90% of the respondents have a growth mindset. 26% of those are student workers who reported being stressed 2 to 3 days a week. And out of that 26%, 57%, or 8 out of 14, are the ones who work 10 to 20 hours a week, and then 43% work 20 to 30 hours a week. And then out of the non-students, there were only 5 people, or 9%, who were reported to be stressed 1 to 2 days a week. And under those, 40% worked 20 to 30 hours a week, and then 60% worked 30 or more hours a week. So the next one, 7%, are students who do not work, and 100% of them have a growth mindset. And when in relation to my theory and my hypothesis, that kind of did surprise me a little bit, because I thought that the students who do not work would have more free time, and they would rather have more downtime or social time, they would have more of a fixed mindset when it comes to stuff other than doing those two things. So the remaining 31 people did not report having the highest amounts of stress. So I did not include them in this one, because my main focus is to look at the people who are mainly stressed more days out of the week, and the people who do work, who do exercise more days of the week as well. So then 10% of total participants have a fixed mindset. 33% of that are student workers, and 100% of those student workers work 10 to 20 hours a week. And then 17% are non-student workers, and 100% of those work 30 or more hours a week. The remaining 3 people did not report having the highest amounts of stress again. So the next question, how important is staying healthy to you on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being most important? I didn't really find very many correlations with this question, but I did find that the average rank between all 60 participants was 4. And every participant who reported having the most stress in each category ranked held as a 3 or above. So under student workers, their average rank was a 5. The non-student workers' average rank was a 5 also. And then the students who don't work and exercise the most have a rank of 4. So all in all, I found that there really wasn't a correlation between a higher number of importance for staying healthy with the higher number of days taking to exercise. And I could probably say that because you can stay healthy without exercising. You can do a lot more than just working out. You can eat better and do all that stuff. So I can see why there was no correlation in that question within my survey. The next question I put was, do you prioritize exercise? Now, this one is the biggest question a part of my survey. It's pretty much going to be the make or break it if it proves or rejects my hypothesis. And within this question, 52% of participants said that they do prioritize exercise. So before I go over this, just remember that there's a total of 16 student workers, 6 non-student workers, and then 4 students who do not work. And that's in total of all those. So out of that 52%, or the 31 participants who said they do prioritize exercise, 29% are student workers who reported the higher amounts of stress. And that is pretty much 56% of all student workers. So 16% of that 52 are non-student workers. And out of all of the total non-student workers, that was pretty much 83% of them. So 83% of people who aren't students but work said they do prioritize, and then 56% of student workers said that they do prioritize exercise as well. And then 0% are students who don't work and reported stress as 3 to 4 days a week. The next one, 43% of participants said they only exercise when in the mood. So this could mean like one day if you have time, you're going to go. The next day if you don't, it's not really going to bug you. It's just kind of like right in the middle between wanting to prioritize it and not wanting to prioritize it. So out of that 43%, 27% are student workers, which is 44% of the total student workers. And then 4% are non-student workers, which are 17% of the non-student workers. And then 12% are students with no job, which is the majority of the students with no job. None of them said that they do prioritize exercise. It was a big mix between in the middle and that they do not. But the majority did stand under being in the middle, which would be 75% of the students who do not work. And then 5% of all participants said that they do not prioritize exercise. And 100% of those were the people who had no job, or at least under this one, they do. So the next one would be, do those with sport-related majors exercise more? I figured if you do have an exercise major, you would kind of take things more serious in the gym because that means you're more inviting to working out. Those with exercise majors or anything related to a sport tend to enjoy working out, sweating. They tend to just like being active. So under this question, I did find that the sport-related majors within this survey do correlate with a higher, more days of exercise and having exercise as a priority. These are the people that are probably, like I said, like me. Even though we have a busy schedule, we make time to do it because just like you need to eat food, we need to go to the gym. So in conclusion, I found that the busiest people reported to exercise more, and those included the college students who have a job and work more than 10 hours a week. And being a full-time college student with a job can be very stressful, especially when you have homework to do afterwards, and then depending on how long you're at your job. Those are the busiest people within my survey. And then the other set of busy people were the non-students who worked full-time jobs, which were more than 30 hours a week. And then I also found that those who prioritized exercise found time to work out. Just like I said, if you want to exercise, you will. If you're having doubts about it, you probably won't. So there were 37 people who exercised more than 3 days a week. And compared to that 37, 31 people prioritize exercise, which is a very similar stance. And then there's also a large difference in growth versus fixed mindset in those who had a busier schedule. So this also helps support my theories that people will either fight or give up. And when I say that, I mean those people who have little free time, but they still try and find time to exercise, they're the people with the growth mindset. They're the people who fight to get what they want, and they embrace challenges because sometimes it can really be a challenge to find time throughout your day to find something you want to do, especially when it comes to time management, because not a lot of people have that. So 23% of student workers have a growth mindset compared to 3% with a fixed mindset. And then 8% of non-student workers have a growth mindset compared to 2% with a fixed mindset. And those are, pretty big to small numbers. So out of all the sport-related majors in this survey, all were pretty much tied to greater amounts of exercise. And then in conclusion, when comparing my data with the research I found, I showed that time is one of the biggest excuses when it comes to exercise. However, I also proved that if someone was motivated, they wouldn't use time as an excuse. It also helps me show that students with no jobs have the highest stress levels from lack of responsibility when managing their time. Like I said earlier, when they ranked their activities, they had downtime and social time as one of the most important things within their daily schedule. Even though they don't have jobs, they could, having social and downtime as one of the main priorities within your schedule can just lead to being unfocused. It can lead to procrastinating because people tend to want to go out more or want to stay in bed and sleep or want to hang out with their friends more than taking control of your responsibility. They would also, for the last sentence, it says they would rather have more social and downtime than be productive, which is true. So my hypothesis was rejected, which is what I wanted it to do. And with that said, those with busier schedules had no correlation to decreased days of exercise. Instead, what I found was the participants who had less free time, who had a little bit more stress and prioritized exercise, all found time in their weekly schedule to exercise more than 2 days a week. And this goes to show that time is not an excuse. If you want to do something, you will prioritize it and you will do it. But if you don't prioritize it, you're probably more than likely not to do it. So in the conclusion continued, one thing that I would change about this survey would be if I could re-ask all the questions, I would make sure to include a question based upon what they do during their free time and how much free time they actually think that they have compared to what they actually have. I would also ask them to put their reasoning behind their answer when they say if they have a growth or fixed mindset, because realizing this halfway through my PowerPoint, that could be related to anything, not just exercise. So in reality, if people put that they have a growth mindset, they could be talking about any type of challenge in their life. It doesn't matter what it is. And then a fixed mindset would pretty much, you could put anything with those two. So I would really want a next survey to focus more on what people do within their specific lives, and how they view it, what they think about it. Because the more people think that they do something, it can really show that they don't do it, or it can really make people realize that, oh, even though I use this as an excuse, they don't even realize that they're using, say, time, for example, as an excuse. And then here are my references.